This is the second of two parts in a discussion of the half-ball hit at pool. In part one, we discussed that the half-ball hit is the only cut shot at pool with a clear aim point, and also that maximum draw with a half-ball hit sends the cue ball pretty much sideways. This entire video talks about a situation where a cue ball is rolling into the object ball, which for a half-ball hit sends the cue ball off at a carom angle of about 33 degrees. The third gem of the half-ball hit has to do with the distance on a half-ball hit that both the cue ball and the object ball travel, the relative distance. Think about this: if I hit a ball thinner than a half-ball hit, like that, then the object ball only travels a short distance while the cue ball travels a long distance. If I hit a ball thick, like that, then the cue ball only travels a short distance and the object ball travels a long distance. There must be a fullness of hit in between those where the cue ball and the object ball travel the same distance, and it turns out that fullness of hit is very close to the half-ball hit. So in a half-ball hit, the cue ball and the object ball travel the same distance. This is an important thing to know. It comes up a lot. For example, this is a common safety in 9-ball where I'm hitting the 2-ball and I hit it, say, like that. And I hope to use the 6-ball as a blocker, but even if I don't, I want the 2 balls on opposite ends of the table like this. In general, when you hit those safeties, I find it's a little bit useful to hit it a little bit fuller than half-ball hit, because if you hit it thinner than half-ball hit, like that, that's a worse sellout than this situation is. In any case, that's gem number 3 of the half-ball hit. What if I told you I could carom a cue ball off that ball on the foot spot into the corner pocket, scratch on purpose, with ball in hand? Would you bet me on that? Probably not. What if I said I could carom a cue ball off that ball on the center spot into that corner pocket with ball in hand? Would you bet me on that? Maybe or maybe not. What if I said I could do it from behind the head string more than 50% of the time off a ball that's in the center of the table? Would you bet me? Oh, you might. What if I said I could carom the cue ball off that ball in the center spot from ball in hand frozen to the head rail? Now you'd probably give me odds. Would you give me 10 to 1 odds? Think about that. Well, let me try it here. Well, I got it that time. Let me try it again. Probably got lucky that time. Well, that's in the center of the hole, I can tell. Can I do 3 in a row? Swish. Well, sure, I can do it with 2 hands, but can I do it shooting with 1 hand? Right in the hole. Can I do it again, shooting with 1 hand? In the hole again. And a 3rd time with 1 hand. In the hole. So what's going on here? Why is a mediocre player like me able to get such accuracy with the cue ball carom angle here? Clearly it's something useful for your game if you can harness this. Well, let's think about this. For all of these shots, I had the cue ball rolling into the object ball, naturally rolling cue ball. So let's think with the object ball in the center of the table and the cue ball originating where it was, let's think of the range of where I could cut the object ball and the range of where the cue ball could carom. So here is a Davini cue that's going to show us that the thinnest cut on the object ball would have sent it about into the side pocket like this. And here's a Samsara cue that shows us that if I did a completely full hit on the object ball, it would have sent it straight down like that. So the object ball is going to be cut somewhere in this range here. Here's a Sherm cue that shows us where the cue ball is going to go. On that super thick, full-on cut, the cue ball is going to follow the object ball right down the table like this. What's the maximum angle that the cue ball can take? Well, this Liani cue is going to show us the answer there. The maximum angle in this particular case is about like this. So, if you think about it like this, I'm cutting the object ball someplace in that region of the table, and the cue ball is caroming someplace into this region of the table. Okay, now if we take this Josie cue and we say, what if we're interested in a particular cue ball carom? So it can go anywhere in here. What about the cue ball carom that sends you right down like this? Well, an interesting thing about this situation is that there's actually two ways to achieve that carom angle for the cue ball. One is a very thin cut that sends the cue ball down there, and the other is a very full cut, a nearly full shot where you follow the cue ball down there. So that's an interesting thing. Every single carom angle in this range has two ways to achieve it in terms of fullness of hit and in terms of where the object ball goes. And that's an interesting and useful thing to know. Here's another important thing. What if we are interested in just how sensitive the cue ball carom angle is to how we hit the object ball? So suppose we take that carom angle there and we want the cue ball to go within a 2-degree triangle. So this red triangle here shows what 2 degrees looks like. So I'll put it down like this. If we want the cue ball to carom to within that range, and what does that mean as far as the object ball is concerned? Well, for the thin hit of the object ball has to go within, here's a 5-degree angle, about a 5-degree angle like that. And for the full hit, the cue ball has to go, I'll use this Pechauer cue here to show that the cue ball has to go within a couple of degrees. So to get the object ball rather has to go within a couple of degrees. So to get the cue ball to carom in this red triangle, you could either do a thin cut, sending the object ball in here, or a full shot, sending the object ball someplace in here. And if you're outside of either of these, the cue ball will be outside the angle that you wanted over there. Here's what's important about the half ball hit. With a half ball hit, you get the maximum carom angle of the cue ball. And what is the corresponding range in where the object ball goes? Well, here is what 30 degrees looks like. Here's a 30-degree angle. For the cue ball to go within 5 degrees like that, the object ball goes within 30 degrees like that. And this is really the secret of the half ball hit. Okay, I only show one triangle here. Well, it turns out that the full shot and the thin shot are both in here. They're just folded in together. If we want the cue ball to carom off within that 5-degree range from the maximum angle to 5 degrees short of the maximum angle, the thin and the full cuts are both in here. Okay, that 5 degrees is probably not quite enough to guarantee the cue ball goes into the pocket. So let's take the 2-degree angle here and say, what if we want that cue ball to carom off within that thin 2-degree region? So that's going to guarantee that the cue ball goes into the center of the pocket pretty much. What would be the corresponding angle of the object ball? Of the object ball, yeah. 20 degrees. Here's a 20-degree angle. So if I, with a naturally rolling cue ball, hit that object ball anywhere between here and here, this entire range, that cue ball is going along that inside that red triangle over there. That's an incredibly useful thing to know, an incredibly important thing to know, and something that you want to be able to harness in your game. So the fourth and, in my opinion, most important gem about the half ball hit is that the half ball hit cue ball carom angle is remarkably insensitive to fullness of hit. In the first part of this video, I talked about how important it was to recognize the object ball cut angle for a half ball hit. It is even more important to recognize the half ball hit cue ball carom angle. This is the second of two parts in a discussion of the half-ball hit at pool. In part one, we discussed that the half-ball hit is the only cut shot at pool with a clear aim point, and also that maximum draw with a half-ball hit sends the cue ball pretty much sideways. This entire video talks about a situation where a cue ball is rolling into the object ball, which for a half-ball hit sends the cue ball off at a carom angle of about 33 degrees. The third gem of the half-ball hit has to do with the distance on a half-ball hit that both the cue ball and the object ball travel, the relative distance. Think about this. If I hit a ball thinner than a half-ball hit, like that, then the object ball only travels a short distance while the cue ball travels a long distance. If I hit a ball thick, like that, then the cue ball only travels a short distance and the object ball travels a long distance. There must be a fullness of hit in between those where the cue ball and the object ball travel the same distance, and it turns out